the client is always assuming they're not going to get approved. They don't want to get their hopes up. They don't want to be disappointed. It's going to be too unaffordable for them. And this is everything in life, that the solution or what it's going to be is always worse than it is. If you call the air conditioner guy, it's going to be a whole new unit. I mean, no matter what it is, it's always going to be something. And when you're able to provide relief and it's a simple solution that they understand how it works, who it's going to go to, how it's going to impact their family, and ultimately how that entire package of that solution makes them feel, it is a perfect ending and it's a seamless way to move forward and to get the sale.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Life Insurance Academy podcast. Zach and I are in studio today, and the weather's turning, man. It's like springtime, summertime. It all happened in like 2 weeks.
Yeah. It's still a little cold in the mornings and the evenings, being at the baseball field a little bit with the kids, and during the day, you're starting to sweat.
I know. It's like it went from winter to summer.
That's the perfect time for a vest.
I know, perfect time. But I wear them all year round.
That is true.
I've got an excuse to wear them all year round.
You got a whole closet
The guys
full.
give me a hard time about how many vests I have. Let's hear in the comments how many vests you think I have, and which one do you like the best? I don't know.
And while we're doing that, Adam, see if we can find a mini vest for his bobblehead.
All right. Well, guys, today we're in our coaching. Let me reframe this. In our coaching over the past few weeks, and in our training that we do in our boot camps, the number one thing that comes up is how well do you close? What can I do to increase my closing percentage? How do I convert more leads? Right? We're talking about lead flow. We're talking about being consistent, but there is something about creating opportunities where you increase your conversions once you make contact. Right? We talk about contact ratio determines the quality of a lead, whether you can contact them or not, and then whether you can have a valid conversation. Some agents, once they get people on the phone or they're sitting in front of people, they tend to quickly figure out how to navigate it through to a close. Other agents struggle with that.
Yeah.
And so there's these different conversion ratios, and we look at the numbers like how many conversations do you need to have? How many presentations do you need to make to actually write an application, and then out of how many applications, how many are actually getting placed and going in force. And so these are some metrics that we measure, but agents are always asking us, how do I convert more leads? How do I close more sales? And
I'll tell you an interesting point to that, Roger, is we have a general number based upon experience. So we know those closing ratios on a brand new agent. We know the closing ratios on somebody that's been 6 months in. And we also know the closing ratios of people who've been doing this, 12, 18 months or longer. And the variable of that, and I know that's what we're going to get into a little bit today, but that closing ratio number is different for all three. And an agent would assume, well, it might be that way because they know more ins and outs of the product, or they know how to inner workings of an IUL or this or that, or maybe they've added more stuff to their script, or they're
saying something different
or more or advanced, or they sound smarter, or, I'm brand new. I don't really know. I sound like I don't know. And what more can I add or do to it to make it go that way? But in reality, it's the people with the higher closing ratios, it's almost effortless. It's more simple.
It feels effortless.
Yeah.
But it's nuanced and it can be learned.
So how can something be so nuanced with all these learning aspects, but then on the receiving end of the client, it'd be so simple that they don't even notice?
Yeah, it feels very smooth, feels very comfortable, and it closes at a high level. So that's the goal, right? So if you're watching today and you want to learn how to close more sales, you want to convert higher, hopefully by the end of today's episode, we'll give you a proven strategy or a structure or framework to increase your conversion rate by eliminating what we call uncertainty. In my coaching call that I did this morning, and if you're not in our coaching program, by the way, lifeinsuranceacademy.org, go in there, look at our coaching program. We do have courses available that you can watch 24/7, but the real value in what we do is in our weekly coaching. That's just FYI between you and me and Zach and Adam. We're all in here together. That's where the real value is, because you get to engage with us. We talked about this idea of uncertainty, and when clients are uncertain, they don't want to move forward.
When anybody's uncertain, they want to move forward. We don't even want to have uncertainty with what we're going to have for dinner tonight.
Correct.
It causes stress.
Yeah. It causes anxiety. That anxiety causes you to stop. And agents are the same. So when you don't have certainty, it's hard for you to move forward. We talked about that in our coaching this morning. But today, I want to give you, Zach and I want to talk about the 3 C's that will help you close. 3 C's. So we're gonna frame this around 3 C's that will help you eliminate uncertainty and become the advisor, the agent that your clients trust the most. Zach, we talked about uncertainty.
Yep.
What is the opposite? Let's get into segment 1 here. If uncertainty is something that stops people,
yep.
What would let's open it up here with segment 1. What is the opposite of that, and how can we frame that up for our listeners?
The first C is a very simple word. Mm-hmm. It's not simple, but it's close to it. It's clarity.
Clarity.
You know, we need to have clarity. People don't buy confusion. People don't buy complicated. Mm-mm. People don't buy anything that sounds time-consuming or a low chance of being approved for. So clarity is so important. So it paints a clear picture, because when you think of the mindset of the client, they have this vulnerability, they have this pain point, they have this this problem that they don't know how to solve. They don't even have words for the feelings of what they're feeling or how to go about it or who to go about it, and it creates all this confusion, overwhelming in their mind. And us as an agent, we have to be able to provide that clarity, to kind of reorganize their thoughts and feelings, to help them realize what they're doing that. But we cannot do that if us ourselves as the agents don't have clarity in our purpose.
Yeah. I mean, it really comes down to 3 things here. When you're going into an appointment, whether you're face-to-face, whether you're talking about IUL strategies, tax-free retirement planning, mortgage protection insurance, final expense insurance, whatever that is, you need to communicate with confidence, clarity of purpose, why you're there, what they are looking to accomplish, and how you can definitively help them. Yep. That goes back to the 5-part selling framework, and that first one is the idea of transference of belief. Well, if you are clear with your purpose, the client understands that you have that intention and purpose, and what's the point of this call, they feel more confident about who you are in leading them.
Yeah. Sometimes agents will make a phone call or show up at a home and they're just kind of feeling things out, and they don't know if they can help them or not. Mm-hmm. That shouldn't be the case. We know we should move into this knowing we have the ability, the products, the knowledge, the care and belief that we can help anybody and everybody. We just don't know the specifics on how we're going to do that yet. Mm-hmm. That mindset is very different. And if you know what I'm talking about, you've probably may felt it personally, or another agent would have been like, well, I couldn't do anything with them. They were already taken care of.
They already had insurance.
They already had insurance for sure.
Yeah. Are you ready to launch your insurance career? Excel Solutions is your go-to leader in life, accident, and health insurance pre-license training. Their cutting-edge e-learning platform is packed with rich content. Think interactive assessments, engaging videos, and customized learning paths, all tailored to your learning style. Being students ourselves, we've trusted Excel now for years to deliver top-notch training, offering high pass rates. Their streamlined prep review courses and the exam simulator are really your secret weapons to nailing the state exam the very first time. Now, you thought it couldn't get any better. Well, it just did. Life Insurance Academy listeners, you receive an epic 50% discount, reducing the regular course fee from $199 to only $99. So, all you have to do is use partner code LIA. at liapodcast.org/excel. Now, Excel spells XCEL. So don't think about it any longer. Dive headfirst into your insurance career with Excel Solutions' premier pre-licensed training with that exclusive 50% discount just for you. Get the code, get licensed, and excel in your insurance career. If you walk in there with clarity of purpose, it's going to give you, it's going to set the stage right. Next, you need to have clarity of your process. Clarity of your process. Well, that's you understanding your script, where you start, where the goal is, and how you're going to get there. And I like to say that if you set the table right with your client, they follow. Yep. If you're a great guide, they will follow you.
Yep.
We were in Montana.
Not us. I didn't get to go.
You didn't get to go. Rose and I were in Montana a few weeks ago, and we hired a guide to take us into Yellowstone, one of your favorite places, which I'm sure you're going to get to discover very soon. And that guy took us to places and showed us things absolutely amazing, breathtaking. But all along the way, he was setting the stage for what was coming or what we could expect. And it gave us anticipation, it gave us excitement, and it kind of set us at ease knowing we were going somewhere, because Yellowstone is big.
Oh, yeah.
And you could be driving for 2 hours to get to the place that he wants to get you to before you actually start discovering the things that are there. But if he doesn't tell you, hey, we're riding for 2 hours, along the way, we're going to see a couple of things, but please know when we get there, you're going to have the most amazing experience. He's setting the stage for what's to come, and he's setting anticipation. Rosemary was at ease, and she's like, I'm so excited about today. You know?
This is a perfect example because I naturally think of our sales process as a filter. Right at the top of the filter, it's the widest where everything goes in, and this is the client's previous.
The widest.
Yeah, the widest.
Widest. Okay.
As far as
Yeah.
big triangle, right?
Yes,
Big filter, or a funnel, if you will. The client's previous insurance experience, their emotions, whatever's going on, what they're feeling, what they don't know they're feeling, it all goes in there. And our sales process is strategically designed to work that in all the way through to have the same exact result. Not the same coverage amount, not the same monthly premium, not the same exact carrier, but the same end goal solution, or the feeling that the client feels, that experience is exactly the same. We're very intentional about that. We know that all the way through. The same example you just gave, Roger, about Yellowstone. You and Rose had a desired outcome, feeling, and experience that you wanted to achieve. You knew where you wanted to go.
We just knew Yellowstone. That was
exactly.
it.
You knew you wanted to go to Yellowstone, and you wanted to have this life-changing, oh my goodness, experience. Everything else was confusing. Where do I go? Where do I go first?
We didn't
What's
know
the
how
most
to get
efficient
there.
way to get
We
there?
didn't know how far it was going to be.
Who's going to be the best guide? What are the things what questions do we not even know we need to ask? And that's a perfect example of the sales system, because our clients have that same end goaling of I have this vulnerability that I just want to make sure my loved ones are taken care of, and this emotional and financial burden is not on me. I don't know how I'm going to get there. I don't know what questions I need to ask. I don't know any of the other things. I know I need some sort of insurance, and I need to take care of this issue.
So what you needed was education, expectation, setting the stage, and then the experience. The cool thing about this guide was, he's like, okay, we're coming up to a place right now where there's a pit stop and there's some restrooms, but this is going to be our last stop for restrooms till about another hour. So I encourage you, if you need to take a restroom break, this is where we do it. And we'll be there in about 10, 15 minutes. So now if you're thinking, I got to go, well, I'm good for another 10, 15 minutes, but I'm going there. He told us what to expect. We're not frustrated. We're not just wandering aimlessly, not knowing where we're going. He's explaining what's coming, what to anticipate. And he's already anticipating the fact that we're going to need to use the restroom, even though we haven't verbalized it, and telling us where we can do that and take the pit stop that we need before we go on and experience the rest. It eliminates anxiety. You as an agent, if you have clarity in your process and you set the stage for your client, this is what we're going to do first, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. I want to ask you some questions to find a little bit more about you. And then this is what we're going to do next. When you get into the underwriting, I'm going to ask you some health and medical questions. We're also going to review your prescription history, not just what you have now, but what you've been prescribed, because that's what the insurance companies are going to see, what you've been prescribed. And we'll take a look at that, and then that will help us determine your best potential eligibility for underwriting. And when you set the stage like that, the client goes with you.
Yeah.
But if you speak clarity with your process, it makes the difference. Zach, when it comes to closing or the end of that, how does clarity come into that?
Well, it's clarity of the solution, and I really feel this one is so important to me. I don't know if it is the final close, so it feels like everything hangs on that, but the truth is it doesn't. It's the whole process, it's the whole purpose, it's all of it. But that clarity of solution, the client is always assuming they're not going to get approved. They don't want to get their hopes up. They don't want to be disappointed. It's going to be too unaffordable for them. They don't know the inner workings of the policy, even if you've briefly gone over it, or maybe you've even asked them, hey, have you ever heard of this plan? And they say yes, and you skip it. They don't really understand what it is to use the cash value or the benefits. So everybody thinks that, and this is everything in life, that the solution or what it's going to be is always worse than it is. If you call the air conditioner guy, it's going to be a whole new unit. I mean, no matter what it is, it's always going to be something. And shout out to Adam on that. But it really isn't. And when you're able to provide relief and it's a simple solution that they understand how it works, who it's going to go to, how it's going to impact their family, and ultimately how that entire package of that solution makes them feel, it is a perfect ending, and it's a seamless way to move forward and to get the sale. So
with specifics to life insurance, what does this mean? It means you need to simplify your products. Like, don't overwhelm them and make it complicated with giving them 3 carrier options. 1 carrier option. Why? Because you're the pro. You're recommending it. You have a clarity of your solution. We're going to recommend this company for this purpose, and here's why. And then use language that like a 10-year-old can understand.
Yeah.
Like, this plan is designed to do one thing, and that's to protect your family when you're gone.
And one last point to that, Roger. It's important to really understand our clients, because this happens too often where, let's say an agent is expanding and becoming better and being able to cross-sell other products now. And you may be really excited about that because maybe you're kind of more in that market. But sometimes if your client is a very simple person that's looking for a simple solution, just because their health is fair, we don't need to overcomplicate and present them a full IUL option when they're looking for a simple whole life solution.
Correct.
So being able to match the perfect product and the perfect simple solution with clarity to that client, it is so crucial.
I've had new agents, once they learn about some features and benefits of a product, they get so excited about all the features and benefits that they spend so much time educating the client on all the details and all the things that it can do. And they start going down rabbit holes, and it's not speaking to what the client really wants, which is a simplistic solution to their problem. And they end up confusing the client because they take too much time burning mental calories. Family members come home, you lose your window, and the client says, well, I got to go, I'll think about it. And you're wondering why, because you're like, I was educating them on everything. Well, exactly. You're educating them on too much.
That's
at that point.
A lot of times that's selling past the close.
Exactly,
and
100%.
I've trained agents so many times where it's like they're committed, they're ready to do that, and then after they've committed, they've literally told every product and feature after it, and I'm just cringing.
There's a quote that says, clarity precedes mastery. Clarity precedes mastery. Just be clear first. Mastery can come later. Let's talk about the second C. Second C, and I'll kick this one off. The second C that we'll give you, first one is clarity. Second one is confidence. Confidence. We talk about this in the 5-part selling framework where we say belief, and that's right up front. And of course, when I'm teaching that or speaking on stage, I always say you need to have unquestionable conviction and undeniable confidence. Confident that you are the most qualified person in the room at this time to help them. You are the best qualified to help them. You might not be the most qualified in the industry, but you're the best qualified at this time to help them. And that confidence needs to come through. Confidence is massive when it comes to selling.
Yep.
The the idea that people are, you're trying to sell a product only goes so far. And I think a lot of new agents get confused because they're trying to sell the features and benefit of the product. But in sales, you're not really selling the product. You're selling you. People don't buy insurance. They buy you and your confidence in it to provide a solution. Let's talk about some talking points around this idea of confidence.
Yeah. It makes me think of, when somebody buys a car, right? Mm-hmm. Anybody can buy, 4 wheels that get you somewhere. But why do you buy that particular car? It's because of the way it makes you feel, mm-hmm. which is very different in that confidence phase. I believe that so much. And when we do these telesales boot camp, Roger, and we have brand new people coming to them and converting their first sales they've ever made, which is an unbelievable experience, we have to shift their focus from selling a policy to selling a feeling or a solution or that peace of mind. And mm-hmm. that it doesn't matter this company or that company. It doesn't matter the coverage amount or the price. It's the feeling that we're selling. And when we can think about that, it changes our questions. It changes everything. And it's a lot easier for us to say, this family needs my help mm-hmm. rather than this family needs this particular policy. Because at the end of the day, the confidence comes from you. It's what makes you different and what makes you stand out. And they are buying you. They are buying that confidence.
With life insurance, you need to have confidence in your value. So something that you can jot down if you're able to take notes, if you're listening, but confidence in your value. What is it that you're actually doing? You're not selling a policy. You're actually securing someone's future. You're actually protecting someone's children. You're mm-hmm. actually protecting someone's spouse that they love the most. That's what you're doing. And oftentimes we get transactional in our language about premiums for a policy rather than an investment for a person.
Yeah.
And so confidence in your value needs to be there. And then I'm going to go back to the 2 things that we hit in the first one. Just like you need to have clarity in your process and clarity in your close or in your solution, you need to have confidence in your process.
But
and
that's
you need
hard.
to have confidence in your close.
But if I've never done it, how do I have confidence?
You got to practice.
Right. And that's the whole thing. And I'm a strong believer in you can borrow belief, but for a very temporary amount of time. Mm-hmm. When you see somebody else doing the same thing, talking to the same clients that you're going to be talking to, selling the same products and solving the same problems that you're going to be doing, you can borrow that belief from somebody mm-hmm. for a temporary amount of time. But within that time, because you can say, oh, they can do it, I can do it too, which is very true. But how long do you personally believe that? And the only thing that can help take that borrowed belief and allow you to do it to where you can build your own confidence in your own belief based upon your own experiences, successes, that's going to come with relentless amount of practice. I remember the first day I was ever seeing this business with you in the car, actually, up there in Kentucky.
Up there in Kentucky.
Yeah,
you're picturing
in
where it is in Kentucky.
I know exactly.
We're in Kentucky right now, by the way, but he's picturing a different place in Kentucky.
It's almost
muddy roads.
It's a very different place. It's a very different place. But
I remember how muddy the roads were.
Yeah, but like I when it comes to confidence, I would say I was a very confident person, very quiet person. But I've never sold anything in my life. Mm-hmm. I was intimidated with the idea of selling because I didn't really want to do it. Mm-hmm. But I also knew anything I put my mind to, I was going to be the best that's ever done it. Like that's just me, right? Like
that was your attitude anyway. Yeah.
So when it comes to practicing and preparing, mm-hmm. I didn't have confidence in the fact that I would understand and pick up all the signs of nuances, but I had the confidence in the fact that I was going to put the work in and I was going to outwork everybody else because I knew I wasn't going to be as good. I knew I wasn't going to have as much life experience. I knew I wasn't going to be able to connect with them emotionally. And heck, I was by far the youngest person. I didn't see anybody under the age of 40 even selling final expense door to door, right? Like I didn't know these people were going to even talk to me. And I had this to this day because I pulled it out about a month ago, which was really cool. First day, we drove up. We were staying in a hotel for a few days. We went to the hotel, and you said we got there pretty early. You said, "All right, we're gonna get rolling here in just a little bit. Just practice practice your presentation. And
you were practicing for like 3 hours by the time I was ready.
Oh, it was nonstop. Yeah. You remember?
I know, because I was on meetings with other agents.
I woke up at about 6 a.m. or something, just anxious, ready to go. And I just started writing my presentation out over and over on a yellow legal pad with additional jokes that I would add in and pauses and comments. I would literally put different lines and write exactly what those would be over and over again, and it ended up being 3 or 4 hours. But the one thing I never wanted to worry about was, do I have confidence in what I'm going to say? I may not have had the belief that it was going to be come across with the conviction I needed or the emotion or the tonality, but that stuff is easier to understand later. It's a process I had to go through, but that practicing that builds that belief.
You put the practice in. Yeah.
The role play, the scripts, the reputation. I knew at some point it was going to be when I walked up to a home, I knocked on a door, I sat with a family, not to be graphic or anything, but it would just be like this verbal just regurgitation of exactly the words to say at the right moment to the client and ask the right question. It would just come out naturally without me thinking it. That's what I wanted to get to. And I didn't know if that was going to take me 2 years, 2 months, 2 weeks. I didn't know, but I was trying to get to that as fast as possible. I was relentless in that, which that alone gave me confidence.
Yeah. And the last part on this is confidence in the close. Confidence in the close. So confidence in the close, what does that mean? We talk about providing the solution at the end. Our 5-part framework, present the options, number 5, or 4, and number 5, provide the solution. When we talk about confidence in the close, if you go to other sales training schools, they will tell you to close hard, always be closing, close and stay closed. Here's your closing script. And it almost seems like it slides back into transactional. In life insurance sales, I like to use the word confident authority.
Yeah.
Move them forward with confident authority, directional authority. What does that mean? It means continuing to move forward, and you're not stopping here and then asking permission again whether you're going to move forward, because you've covered all the importance. They've given you the feedback of why this is important to them. You've asked them what's at stake. You asked them, who is it for? You ask them, how does that make them feel? Why is it important? They've given you the ammo for their reasons why, and now you're just helping them solve that problem. When you get to the end, I see too many agents waffle like, I'm about to ask the closing question. Do I need to ask them if I can write the app now? Right, this is where so many agents, they do great and they get to here, and it's like they freak out and run away from the dance because they don't want to ask the girl to dance. Like, I prepared so well, and now I'm here, and then they don't know what to do, so they kind of like blow themselves out. Like, I'll get back to you. I'll call my manager, and I'll call you back tomorrow.
Yep.
And they blow out right there at the end. And for me, I would say...
You just spoke to so many agents right there.
Yeah.
So many agents.
Move forward with confidence. So you're going to, you like to say, assume the sale.
Yeah, and the whole mindset behind that is, and I have every boot camp, I probably pull 4 or 5 agents aside and have this exact same conversation. Number one, we have to understand the sales process. If you've had any experience dialing, then you know what I'm talking about. Every time you ask them permission, you're going to lose 60% of the people. If you call everybody and like, hey, Mr. Roger, do you have time to talk about insurance for a little bit? You're going to probably lose at least 60% of them. And then if I'm moving through, is it okay if I walk through this presentation with you to tell you a little bit about insurance? Every time you ask permission, you're going to drop 60%. So if you would imagine how many people is going to make it through all your funnels of permission? Barely anybody, right? But the cool thing is, when we look at this confidence in the closing, I always tell agents this. Just imagine with me for a second. Let's go on a mental journey and imagine with me. Let's pretend that you're my client, Roger. Let's pretend that Mr. Roger already told you, talking to the agent or me, that, hey, I really want this insurance. I need to get it for my family. I'm going to get it today. I already have my checkbook here with the account and routing number. I have my social. I have everything you need for the application. I just need you to guide me on how much coverage I need and help me identify what it's going to be applied for. And we just need to find something affordable. But I'm 100% buying this today no matter what. Okay? If you told me that as my client, how would I feel? I would feel confident. I would be calm. And how would that change my presentation? So if you told me that 100% up front, I would move through that presentation with that confidence. I would not continue to ask permission, and I would continue to move right through. Okay, now, Mr. Roger, what we're going to do is we're going to ask you a few health questions to see which plan we'll be able to get you qualified for. Now, blah, 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 and I'm just moving through it. After that, guess what? Go get your piece of paper and a pen. I want to write down a couple of these and show you how it might be benefit. We're moving through the sections of the cells without asking permission. Now, we would all feel confident, and we would feel calm, and we would move through and close. That's how I want all of our agents to do. That's what I want.
Without having their clients say that to them.
Correct. Yeah. And I want you to imagine that, because if you just play this game with me, and if you have to, write that on a sticky note and put it on your monitor and read that while you're talking to your client on the phone and soak that in. If you do, you will close so many more sales by just imagining that you already told me you wanted it. 100%. Just that little mind hack.
Correct.
You will close so many more sales, and it will be so smooth because agents get in their own way.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you think about how you move into the close, you're not asking permission again. You're assuming the sale, and with directive and confident authority, you're moving your client forward to the desired solution. So it sounds something like this. It could sound something like this, okay, based on your client conversation. So, Zach, based on what you shared with me about what you're wanting to achieve for Jade and your kids, and why this is so important to you, this is how we're going to move forward, okay? And now you give direction. This is how we're going to move forward, okay?
Yep.
Now, that is not a question. It's authoritative statement framed as a question. And you're nodding your head if you're face-to-face. And if you're not, you're giving this is how we're going to move forward, okay? We're going to do this next, and then we're going to go ahead and get this started for you, and here's why. And all of a sudden, your client goes, this person is confidently moving toward my desired outcome. And they don't sound uncertain. They sound confident. And that's different than pausing again. Would you like to apply for a policy for Jade?
Is this something you think you'd want to see if we can get you qualified for?
Would you like to see how the prices work on this to see if you might want to think about qualifying or applying? It's totally different, right? It's closing with confidence. All right, let's move into the last one as we close this out today. So
boom.
The 3 parts, right? First segment, clarity. First C, clarity. Clarity of purpose, clarity of process, clarity of solution. Second one, confidence. Confidence with your value. Why are you doing it? What this does for families. Confidence in your process and confidence in your close.
Yep.
And lastly, let's talk about connection. Connection. Zach, if they don't trust you, they're not going to buy from you.
No, I don't want them to either, right? No, but when it comes to the connection, we're people. We're people. We are the difference. You are the difference, particularly you, your personality, your knowledge level, your experience. And we talked about this a little bit earlier, but you probably will be, and you can decide if this is scary or not, the most educated and most qualified insurance person they have ever spoke to in their life and may ever end up speaking to. So that is such a special, cool thing that we have a gift of providing for our clients. And that takes a personal relationship that we are earning the right to be able to communicate. I always say that it's important to us that I want to connect with them enough to where it's easy, to where we can talk about anything and everything. And that pressure of time, that pressure of, okay, can you get this on? Okay, can you just give me that? The pressure of them trying to get off the phone is completely gone and eliminated. We want to know, again, we want to be, if we can, a part of their family. And I know it's crazy because most of the time in final expense, it's a one-call close. So we want to develop that comfortability. And a lot of times that's with us being a little vulnerable. That's with us being comfortable in our own skin and being ourselves. Only then are we able to ask with confidence, with clarity, about their finances. We can ask about their loved ones. We can share something about our families. We can connect. We can edify them on being a great mother or father or a grandmother. We can edify them on make them feel like they're the best most qualified person in their career. Like, get to actually care about who they are. And that will go so much more. It eliminates that anxiety when it comes to that.
This goes back to the trust part of the 5-part selling framework, right? Establishing trust. So when we know our client, generally who they are, our demographic. If it's mortgage protection, who are they? If it's final expense, who are they? They're two different client profiles. They're two different avatars. We call them avatars. Like if you had to build your ideal client, what they look like, what is an MP client look like? What are their primary concerns? Yep. What is their station in life? Where are they positioned? Little kids, older kids, no kids. What's a final expense client look like? Finances. How do they think about money? And the insecurities they have about maybe not properly preparing till now or being taken advantage of. Like there's different profiles for different market groups. Well, if you know your clients, generally speaking, and then we get to know them on a personal level when we're talking to them, now you can really narrow that down and become that true connector. Connecting with your client on what's important to them gives you attunement to their perspective. And once clients know that you understand their perspective, the trust wall, right, or the lack of trust wall goes down, and you can establish that trust. So knowing your client, I would say being present and not pushy. Too many new salespeople, especially if you come from another industry that's kind of like hard closing, door-to-door, solar, one of those other industries where you're like, you only got one shot. You just showed up at their door and they didn't even know you were coming. They never filled out anything, and they're just telling you that they just helped a neighbor down the street whose name you don't recognize. And, you know, they're used to closing hard. And when they transition into here and try to do the same thing, it feels pushy. And they're not being present. They're not listening. And sometimes oftentimes that works against you. Here you have to build that connection of trust. And then lastly, I would say using their words. Zach, I like what you do. You become like a tactician. I was interviewing Dana Neeson a couple of months ago on this podcast, and she sounded so much like you in her teaching style. And it's really asking questions to get the client to give you their reasons of why they need this instead of you selling them on reasons why they should have it. And that's a different approach. Asking tactical questions so they will reveal out loud to you and to themselves why they need this. Helps them build their own argument rather than you trying to sell them on why they need it. And that's a different place. And it's using their words in closing to help them find their solution.
Well, they're not going to tell themselves no. Because one thing I know about humans is they're always right. They're right.
And they're consistent with what they believe.
Exactly. So it is like a magic trick, but there's no magic to it. Because people buy what they want, right? Everybody wants to buy, but nobody wants to be sold. I say that all the time, and I completely understand that. Well, when you buy it, they're doing it on their own. So if you're using their own words, if you're using their own reasons, if you're talking about their own family, and you're just relaying that back to them, it makes it so simple. Because how can they tell you that and then tell you they're not going to take care of them, of the people they just told you they want to take care of? It. You just kind of sit there and you're kind of confused, but it doesn't happen. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't. And that is really the trick, because we're never selling. We're just, we're taking a puzzle that is halfway disassembled, and we're just organizing the colors and the pieces and saying, oh, here's your border. And they put it together. Here's the swing set. They put it together. They paint their own picture. We're just guiding them. We're giving them example of all the other people we're able to help. And we're literally just becoming their assistant buyer. That's a temporary part of their family, and it's really cool. And one thing I do want to talk about on the connection piece, and this happens so much, and it's such a small nuance, and this is a question that you guys can ask yourself. Does your level of commitment to that client, or your level of service to them, or your depth of questions you're asking them, is that related based upon the commission that you would receive? If you feel like they're not going to afford anything, do you give them less service? Do you educate them less? Do you take shortcuts to see if they're giving you buying signs or not? Are you not really going in depth or asking questions because they're a little bit more abrasive? Do you change that based upon what it is? Do you feel that when you talk to somebody and they're like, my last insurance canceled, oh, great. I'm sorry to hear that. What kind of coverage was it? How much were you paying? I was paying about $315 a month for it. Do your eyebrows light up? Do you think that you're going to get a big sale and all of a sudden now you want to do more? If you always put the client first and you always do the right thing, you always follow the same exact sales process. You ask the same questions. You go the same level of, depthness or whatever that would be.
Same level of depth, yeah.
Yeah, with each, and you give them that same effort and attention. You never know what referral you may get out of that, or you may not know what comes at the end of that. Or you may not know how long that policy will stay on the books or fall off based upon that level of service. If you can put that in your mind and treat everybody, give them twice as much value as you'll ever receive in commission, I promise you, your closing ratios, because of that tone and mindset, will go through the roof.
100%. There's been so many times that I can point to examples of when I've been in a home, I've been on the phone with a client, and I had real conversations with them. It wasn't just about reading the words on the script. It was about uncovering their need, who they were as people, and what they valued as important, and then finding a solution. But having real conversation with them while I'm doing that. When you can be real, people open up. Oftentimes they shed a tear. They'll get quiet. You can hear them getting emotional on the other end of the phone, or you can see them get emotional when you're in front of them. And when that happens, people feel they're in the moment with you because you're hearing them. And I want to say this. There's a quote by Brené Brown, and it says this: connection is the energy that is created between people when they feel seen, heard, and valued. Seen, heard, and valued.
You don't get that with reading a script.
You don't, with just reading a script.
Right.
If you're reading a script just for the words on the script and you don't understand the principles behind it, trust, right? The stakes, raising the stakes, addressing them, raising them. If you don't understand the principles that need to be accomplished inside of that script, you're going to miss this connection part. And Zach, to me, this is the biggest closing tool and the biggest conversion tool is when people are willing to get authentic and real with clients. It doesn't have to be a 2-hour sob session. That's not what I'm saying here. And I had so many people that are, kind of uncomfortable with their own emotions. They say, is there a time when it gets too emotional with clients? Well, that guy right there, that person that's asking that question, they're having trouble closing, and they're never emotional enough. They never actually get to the heart of the matter
there's the
because
other
they're
end of that
uncomfortable.
spectrum.
They're uncomfortable with it.
Like sometimes you have to get more emotion or it's not going to go anywhere. Before you can move forward, you have to get more emotion. And when it comes about getting real, it's not just about those. It's also sometimes you have to get real and address the elephant in the room to earn the respect and get through the BS so we can actually connect, because there are barriers on both sides of that.
All right, let's recap, man. What do you got?
Man, keep it simple. We have to have clarity more than anything. Talk to them as if they're a 10-year-old, not in any disrespectful way, but the word choices we use, how we simplify and explain the products, their benefits, and the solutions of that. Keep it simple. Do the same process every single time. It's so easy. That's going to move us through to confidence. Have confidence in what we're doing. Have confidence that we are making a true difference. Have confidence in the same repetitive, practice, rehearsed script, framework, whatever you want to call it. Make sure we know that inside and out. And we build confidence because we do the same thing over and over again, regardless of the client or the situation. Just follow the steps of that. And more than anything, take that time to become real and have that connection. So the 3 C's again: clarity, confidence, and connection. Man, these 3 things will take your business and your sales to a whole nother level.
Yeah. If you got value today, share this episode with your team, screenshot it, send it out to somebody that needs to hear it. And go out there this week with clarity and confidence and connection. You're not just selling life insurance, you're actually changing people's lives. And in so doing, you're actually changing your own. There was one question that I wanted to throw out there and answer at the end here as we wrap. We get questions oftentimes in our DMs, in our social media. People reach out with emails all the time. And I'd like to address one of those. Someone said, Zach, I'll throw this one to you. How do I know when to ask for the sale? How do I know when to ask for the sale? And we'll wrap with this.
Well, just know that they've asked for the solution the moment you reached out to them. That's the reason you're reaching out to them. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to asking for the sale, we have to uncover the pain point. We have to go through. We follow our sales process. We have that internal belief. We follow that. We've developed that trust, that connection. Mm-hmm. The more than anything, diving through that sales system, identifying and raising those stakes, asking those questions, becoming real, so they identify those problems and solutions. And then we're able to move through to the options and knowing what realistically what they can do. We're just working them through the funnel, Roger, all the way down to the solution. Mm-hmm. And you can ask at that point, or you don't have to ask at that point.
Are you really asking?
No.
That's the trick, right?
No.
This is a trick answer here.
That's the whole point in the beginning. They're asking for the solution the moment you contact them. Mm-hmm. So the whole thing is you going through and finding that solution.
So the answer is, when you've uncovered the pain, you've offered that solution, and you built the value and walked them all the way through this process, you've earned the right to lead them to the close.
You're asking without asking.
You don't have to ask them. You lead them to the close. And that's the difference in the no-close sales presentation.
Yep.
Hopefully that helps, guys. Thanks for listening today. Hope you found value in the 3 C's that'll help you convert more sales, close more business, and make more money. We'll see you on the next episode of the Life Insurance Academy podcast.